representation of transformation and rebirth, death and destruction, harbinger of afflictions that's going to be taking place. So, like I said, I understand. Like a lot of people understand the concept of Judgment Day. It's not only subjected to doom and gloom or whatever, but like I said, for the people who are basically connected to this planet, it's a time of time to rejoice and be happy for that. Because, like I said, it's a restoration of power. It's a transformation of power.
We talked about X a lot. This pretty much this whole show. We even mentioned Y. What can you tell me about the frequency of Z? Because it's usually those three letters, X, Y, Z. X, Y. They always like we got all the letters, but X, Y, Z. Those are like three special letters that come at the very end of the alphabet that stand on their own. So, what can you tell me? Is there anything you know about Z in particular?
Z is also the representation of the unification of the divine feminine and divine masculine energy. And the divine feminine and the divine masculine energy is basically the man being a representation of a masculine energy, which is connected to the sun. And then the woman is also the representation of the earth, which is your amalgamation of heaven and earth unifying together that dematerializes the three-dimensional matrix system that we're living in. So they know that, when you have a genuine unification process of the divine feminine and the divine masculine together, you have the ability to open up portals on this planet. So that's why they propagate dysfunctionalism all throughout, the television networking system. They propagate all these things that disconnects the man and the woman from together. You know what I'm saying? Because they know that the unity consciousness aspects has a centripetal and a centrifugal force. And that energy has a tetrahedron energy. And that tetrahedron energy is what creates a tetraangular radiation. And that tetraangular radiation has a cosmic radiation that basically manipulates everything to the point where you have a pole shift that's going to be taking place during these time periods.
So, BDELL, how do we have this pole shift take place, and with this energy that we're supposed to emit, if the majority of carbonated beings on the planet are not in relationships and they're not engaging with love with the person of opposite sex? So if I have a force and my lady has a force, but we have to get together to unite that force to, let's say, the X and the Y to form the Z, the majority of us are single. So how are we able to emit that force if we don't have a partner in this day and time?
That's a good question. Well, it tells you in all forms of ancient, mythology, it tells you that there's a 144,000. So that means that everybody's not going to make it. So it's going to be a point in time. Is going to be a group of chosen ones that's going to be able. They're going to have to, unify and galvanize their resources and come together. So that's what it's going to take. You know what I'm saying? Because when the planet is in a state of desolation, that's the only way you can unify. You got to unify with the right people. You got to come with people who are not subjected to the ideologies of the government. Some people, you know what I'm saying, like what they do is they supplicate your emotions to where they transmute it into a weakness. So that weakness, some people are going to be like, oh, I gotta fall with the government because I ain't got no food and the power grid shut down. I'm riding with the government. I'm about to go to the Red Cross Foundation, these FEMA camps, and get this sandwich. But like I said, but the chosen ones, you know what I'm saying, those are the ones that's, you know what I'm saying, they're going to galvanize their resources and come together. So that's going to be a unification process. But unfortunately, just like when you have family reunions and funerals, most people only come together when it's something when something bad is only taking place on the planet. So that's what it's going to have to come down to.
Shout out to Al-Kibalon. Al-Kibalon said the Z-axis is the 0 point or dielectric field.
Fact.
Yeah. Appreciate you for adding that, Al-Kibalon. For those, are you familiar with the 0 point?
Yeah, that's actually connected to the spirit of Melchizedek.
Oh, the 0 point. So break that down, brother. Break that down. Okay.
So you got
Melchizedek with the Z. Okay, yeah.
So the spirit of Melchizedek is when you operating from a form of supreme mastery. So the path of Malakut is actually the path of the middle way. and the path of the middle way sets you up for the precursor to mastery. Right. So the path of Malakut, first you got to go through an initiation process. You got self-realization. So you got to come to terms with your own afflictions and your own shortcomings and things of that nature in order to tap into that energy. Mm-hmm. So that's the inception point of it, when you become a neophyte, and then you go to the path of Malakut, to where you're going through that initiation to where you become a master. But you got to be operating at 0 point energy. Meaning that you got to use your emotions as a navigation system in order to deviate from the matrix system. Indeed. So where you're not tapped into animism.
Powerful, powerful. Let me get to, I seen a couple of, I'm gonna get to questions a little. I'm gonna be in and out with questions because y'all got some good ones and I don't want to miss them. But I'm gonna tell you, family, between me being a host, the guests that I have on here, and y'all in the audience, this is the best YouTube show on the planet, man. Woo! I'm loving it. Listen to this, what somebody said, because you mentioned about the pole shift and the energy. Somebody said, could this transgender movement be pulling from this pole shift?
It depends on what, like I said, some people, you know what I'm saying, they are meant to be programs that's a part of this matrix system to deviate everybody, you know what I'm saying, to a certain construct. So, I mean, it's a high possibility.
Indeed. Somebody wants to know, will the chosen ones be like X-Men?
You have the ability. I know a lot of people, you know what I'm saying, they make a lot of fun of, you know, talking about, well, when we're going to get these activations and these powers and things of that nature. Because I told you, you know, the energy of the sun, I made a video about the 3 suns that has a tetrahedron energy and these cosmic radiation. So these suns, you know, that's coming in our atmosphere, it has the ability to activate the Bathari gland. That's connected to your higher senses. When you're talking about psychometry, clairvoyance, intuition, telepathy, if you really tapped in, you know, you can probably, you know, levitate. So these energies that's coming in is activated by the sun. So that's why I said, that's why XXX is also connected to the activation of the carbon body, right? Which is basically an electromagnetic generator and a light code transducer. So the carbon body has to activate in itself. So like I said, the activation is connected to the same mythology as superheroes when you're talking about X-Men, because when you convert the carbon body into a crystalline state, you know what I'm saying, bullets won't be able to infiltrate your avatar. You know what I'm saying? Because what pressure makes diamonds, and that pressure is the cosmic and the plasma discharges that's coming from the coronal mass ejections.
What I want to ask you about so the sun, since we've mentioned the sun several times tonight, I feel like you know, in my years of experience in this realm, I'm very analytical. I'm a Virgo, so I analyze a lot of things, and I'm spiritual. And what I've noticed, I noticed years ago that the sun looked more white. It looked like it had a different light than what it usually has. And what I've also noticed with the sun is that it does not, when I'm tanning in the sun, the light that the sun is emitting now, it doesn't turn me as dark as the tan that I used to get, let's say 10 years ago, used to turn me. This sun turns me more, the light from this sun turns me more golden instead of turning me more dark. Now, I don't know if that makes any sense, but what would you gather from my observation of my tanning from the light that's currently coming from the sun?
Well, it's crazy that you can also connect that to the symbology of the golden age. So that's what the Aquarian age is acclimated to a sun cycle under the golden age. So like I said, it's one of those things where it can transform the carbon into a form of intensified carbon. So, but I also noticed that too. I don't know. It could be one of those suns that is created by, you know, the technocrat system. When you're talking about that sun that China created, so it could be one of those things where they can try to block out these new energies of the sun that's coming in and basically infiltrate the system with that new sun that they created over out in China.
I'm glad, because when I thought that, sometimes you be scared to express your thoughts because nobody else has said it. When I said it, a lot of people are saying that they have noticed that too. So, and this is how we make breakthroughs. It's not just through the books. We're sharing thoughts with each other. So this is exactly how it's happening. Very important show. We got over 2,000 people in the room. I advise everybody to rewatch this show. This is extremely powerful show, and I'm glad that that people are confirming that. BDELL, isn't there something we were talking about the X and the ancient Egyptians? Some of them used to be buried like that. Isn't there something in our brain that forms the X, like between the hemispheres or something like that? Do you?
I believe I haven't really. I'm not sure about that one. I'm not sure.
Okay, let me know if y'all know what is in the brain that forms the X, the hypothalamus. If y'all could tell me something.
I think it's probably the I'm not sure, but I'm thinking it's connected to the hippocampus layer of the brain. It's also connected to the epigenetic frequency that's connected to your DNA. So, because when you're born into this matrix system, it's not a coincidence that, whether people believe this or not, or they could say a conspiracy, but, when you born into the matrix and you go to these hospitals and stuff, they actually inject PCP in the hippocampus layer of the brain because they wipe away your memory clean.
Wow.
So it's one of those things.
Let me get to a question real quick. Are the Anunnaki drawing energy from the sun?
I mean, if you're a concept of a mothership, if you're talking about that, yes. But, the mothership in itself, or Planet X or Nibiru or whatever you want to call it, like I said, it's another form to galvanize that energy. So they pull on the energy of the sun. So it's not a coincidence that a lot of the mounds and the pyramids over in the geographical landmass of America, a lot of those mounds were actually landing pads for the Anunnakis, or these shams that came from Planet X. These shams were basically landing pads. The pyramids and the mounds were basically landing pads, and they were basically in sync with the energy of the sun.
When I said that earlier, and a lot of people are saying that they noticed that too in terms of the sun. A lot of people aren't getting as dark as they used to get in the sun. Is that proof that? Would you say that's evidence that we're turning from carbonate? Because some people in the New Age movement say we're going from carbonated beings to crystalline beings. Is that a direct result of that? Us going from carbonated beings to crystalline beings by, instead of turning darker, we're turning more golden now, would you say?
I remember a long time ago, I think it was on your channel. I think Brother Polite, he had said something, the darker you are, the lighter you are, something.
Yeah. I remember that, yeah.
So it could be connected to that whole philosophy right there. So, you know what I'm saying? Because who knows that the black sun might be the light sun. And the light sun is actually a transmutation process to where you tapped into the crystalline state. So it might be an amplifier and a converter.
Wow, this is some good stuff. Let me this is like a lot of people saying, oh my God, me too. I get golden now, but back in the day, I used to get black. Yeah. A lot of people. I guarantee though, after this show, watch how many people on Instagram and TikTok start talking about that now. That they don't get dark like how they used to. Watch it. Y'all better say, Brother Rich said that with BDELL.
I remember you said something like, you said that you looked in your skin was like
the glitter. Yeah, it looked like glitter. Yeah, the crystals. Yeah. It's some real stuff going on that they hiding from us, family. Let's get to some more. Give me some good questions for BDELL. He can't be here too long tonight, so we're gonna end in about 20 minutes. But he's gonna do another part 2 on his show in a week or two, so y'all can look forward to that. But give me some good questions. A magnificent show on the Esoteric Power X. We're dealing with the sun, everything that's going on right now. This is some good stuff. Give me some good questions in the chat. Oh, somebody asked earlier, when we was talking about X, about the SWAT sticker. What's your thoughts on the power of that symbol right there? I know it was around way longer before Hitler. I think he like reversed it or something like that. But talk to me about that symbol right there.
I think the inception of it came from the Ethiopians. I think it was created by the Cushites. I know that very much. So as far as like the symbolism it's also representation of the black sun. So that's why when you talk about the Thule Society or the Theosophical Society, they had a veneration of the black sun that's connected to the mythology of Hitler and the Nazi regime. So that's why, like, they say that, oh, Hitler escaped and he went inside Hollow Earth and things of that nature. That's where that concept from. It's basically them showing veneration to the black sun, where they got their mythology from the Kushites.
Indeed. Somebody said the vagus nerve is referred to as the X nerve.
Okay.
Okay, very, very interesting. Yeah, let me see. Give me some questions.
I believe so. That vagus nerve is connected to your whole endocrine system. So I know that there's an initiation process in certain occultic forms of Freemasonry or dark magic or whatever. They got a thing called the vagus vaso process. So when you take it up the rectum, and it's a reverse of frequency to where it throws off your spiritual alignment.
Let me ask you this, BDELL. Somebody in the chat, Michael says, Michelle, I hope I'm saying your name right, says melanated beings keep your hair natural where you receive divine information through the coil. It is activation. Now, it appears, I may be wrong, but it appears that the majority of the sisters out here are not natural. And if they may have wigs on or they may have perms, but I don't see in Atlanta or I come from New York, a lot of sisters with natural hair. Now, we talked about the lack of union between divine masculine and divine feminine. How much does the woman, the divine feminine of this planet, not wearing her natural hair, how much does that affect what's going on right now? If she could change the weather, alter the weather with her power, how much does her hide in her hair? How much does that hurt the ascension of the carbonated family?
Well, the coils of the hair is an activation of the non-ether genetical properties that has sun heat gene prominences. So the woman, hiding her natural hair, she's not connected to the ethers. So when you're not connected to the ethers, that basically compromises the unity consciousness. So where you can open up portals and bring in these new cosmic energies. So, I mean, it's one of those things where people, the great majority of our women, they have to get away from the Western construct of vanity. And so, like I said, man, it's one of those things where, we got to go back into our natural ways of living in order to, to tap into that energy. Because like I said, people are going to fall when the system falls. So if you're still tapped into westernized group thinking and you want to wear your hair like this and you want to put a perm in and you don't want to wear your hair natural, you know what I'm saying? You got to pay for that, you got to pay for that in the in the end.
Indeed. Look, there's a couple of I'm trying to figure out which one. I mean, any information on blood types and how they correlate with different ET races that seeded this planet?
I don't really get into the blood types. That's kind of kind of touchy for some people. But when you're talking about the Anunnaki, I know that the great majority of Anunnaki are O type.
Are O type?
Yeah, and the great majority of Black people, if they, but due to colonization and biological and biochemical warfare, the genetics got compromised. So some of us don't even have the O type blood anymore.
Right.
But the great majority of Black people have O type blood.
Somebody said X-Files, there goes that X again, was really about this current time that we are experiencing when the energy of the planet begins to change and the original species of the planet rises again. Okay. I think I asked him about this, the ears ringing. They want me to ask you about ears ringing. I might have asked you about that before. What's your thoughts on that?
See, a lot of people say, look, there's a dichotomy between it. So a lot of times when you're talking about, even though we are converting over into a technocrat system where everything is being controlled and galvanized by artificial intelligence, everything is compromised. So these nanoparticles have the ability to infiltrate the mind to where it can activate a STEMO receiver. And the STEMO receiver is basically a neurological transmitter in the brain to where it can hijack the mind. So this technology in itself was created by Graves, Zeta Reticula Graves. So sometimes that ringing in the ear is you being compromised in the higher dimensions by other entities. it's not only where you're trying to, you know, get, you know, activations from ancestors and things of that nature. So it's not only subjected to that. So there's a dichotomy between the two. So it's also one of those things where you're trying to channel in information, and it's also one of those things where you can probably, you know, might be compromised by other entities.
Right. All right, BDELL, speaking, I got a question for you. Speaking of frequencies, and we're talking about these letters, extremely interesting conversation. If you came in late, rewind it to the very beginning and don't miss 1 second of this conversation. There's some important things happening right now, and information is hitting the planet that has never been around, because we are downloading. We're making a lot of downloads on this show, myself, BDELL, and the people in the chat. BDELL, so speaking of frequencies and communicating with maybe a cosmic family with these frequencies, and we're talking about the X and the Y and the Z. Now, when you make a phone call, each number has a different frequency. So it's like do, 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 do. Now 9 is WXYZ. So if you hit the 9 and you just like, let's say you loop, like when you hit 9, it's like do. If you loop that and you just listen to that long frequency, do you think like there's a science behind every digit having the letters having different sounds, or you think they just did that just to do it? But do you think, like, is this like an actual science behind these numbers being connected to that particular sound? Do you think that's like some real science that we need to tap into?
Yeah, I think it's a real science, because it's also there's a certain octave frequency to even like when we speak certain languages. So it's not a coincidence, like when you hear certain words and vibrations or numbers or anything that has like on pianos or anything, it causes a biological activation. So I really believe that. I agree with you.
I'm about to loop the number 9, y'all.
Yeah.
Listen to that for a long time, and I'm gonna let y'all know the result I get. I'm looping the X, the Y, the Z.
Hey, that's dope.
Oh man, I tell y'all, man, we this